For the first time since the introduction of Apple's AirPort networking devices, both the AirPort Extreme and the Time Capsule share the exact physical shape and size. In fact, other than the internal storage, which only the Time Capsule has, they are virtually the same. Welcome to IFTI's Tech Corner, where today we are taking a look at the 2013 AirPort Time Capsule. Compared with the previous generation, the new Apple Time Capsule is much more compact with a smaller footprint, and it's noticeably better looking. On top of that, it now supports the new 802.11ac wireless standard, which offers very fast wireless data speeds when used with an 802.11ac enabled client. The rest remains unchanged, however, including the internal storage capacities, features, and even the network storage performance. For existing Time Capsule owners, there isn't a compelling reason to upgrade unless you've just bought the new MacBook Air, which is the first hardware client from Apple that supports 802.11ac wireless. In this case, the new Apple Time Capsule will be an excellent home network gateway, since Time Machine backup and data sharing will now be much faster via Wi-Fi. Savvy and non-Mac users, however, will still find the new Time Capsule lacking, both in features and customization options. Let's take a closer look inside the box. Now, if I remove the top of the box here, we have the actual Time Capsule itself. Here, there's quite a bit of weight to this, considering it's got the hard drive inside. We'll take a look at that in just a moment. Within the actual box itself, we only have the actual power supply. So I've got a UK 3-pin power supply here. Note there's no separate power adapter, it's just the actual cable. The actual power supply unit is built into the actual router itself. And finally, we have a Time Capsule setup guide in the bottom there. The new Apple Time Capsule comes sporting a completely new look, which Apple calls the new top-down approach to design. Instead of the traditional squarish tile shape that's been used for years, it now looks like a rectangular tube, standing 6.6 inches tall and 3.85 inches wide. This design helps shrink the device's footprint by 75% while retaining the same element of style. In fact, I find the new design much better looking overall, kind of overkill for a networking device though, that's generally tucked away under a desk. On its front face, it comes with a tiny status light in this corner here that glows green when all is working well. The light changes to amber or flashes to indicate that the device needs attention. On the back, stacking up in a vertical array, there are the usual 3 LAN ports to connect wired clients, such as a Mac Pro, and 1 WAN port here to connect to an internet source, such as a broadband modem. All of these ports are gigabit compatible, offering up to 1000 megabits per second data speeds. It's kind of disappointing that the Time Capsule doesn't offer more LAN ports though, since there seems to be enough space to add more. What's also disappointing is the USB 2 port here. By now you'd think Apple could support USB 3 on its AirPort devices. This port can be used to host a printer or an external storage device to supplement the Time Capsule's internal drive. It can also be used to archive the content stored on the internal drive to an external one for data safety. Similar to the previous generation, the new Apple Time Capsule is completely closed in. There's no way to open its casing to replace or service the internal drive on the inside, which, by the way, is a 3.5-inch standard hard drive. The fact that it uses a 3.5-inch model and not a 2.5-inch drive just shows how amazing the new design is. The device's chassis is just barely larger than the hard drive itself. The device requires AirPort Utility, available as both a desktop software application on both Windows and Mac, and a mobile iOS app for its initial setup and ongoing maintenance. Using the software, the device can be quickly set up in just a few simple steps. This is mostly because the networking device is rigid and relatively lacking in terms of what it has to offer. In other words, there aren't a ton of features to configure. At its core, the Apple Time Capsule is a true dual-band router, offering Wi-Fi coverage on both 2.4 GHz and 5 GHz frequency bands at the same time. This means it supports all existing Wi-Fi clients, regardless of their standards and platforms. In addition, the Time Capsule also comes with internal storage that can be used to host Time Machine backup files or as a shared folder for connected devices. That said, the device can work both as a Wi-Fi router and a NAS server simultaneously, and for the most part it works pretty well. Unfortunately, it's very limited in terms of features and customization in either of these roles. As a NAS server, the Time Capsule might be the best host for Time Machine backup for Mac users. You can set this up with just a few clicks, and after that backups are automatic and require no interaction from users. With up to 3 terabytes of storage space available, you can easily back up multiple Macs without worrying about running out of memory. And when you do, you can archive the backups to an external hard drive, then wipe the Time Capsule and start over from the beginning. Other than that, the Time Capsule can also function as an excellent file server where you can share data stored on both its internal drive or on one that's plugged in via the USB port securely. There are 3 sharing options: via user accounts, via a disk password, or via the device's password itself. In a local network, the file sharing works on both Macs and Windows. On a Mac, the Time Machine will automatically appear in Finder. On a Windows machine, it was a little bit trickier to set up. You can also opt to use the Time Capsule as a print server, which is also very easy to set up. Remote file and printer sharing, however, works only for Macs. To do this, you just need to enable Back to My Mac features on both the Time Capsule and the Mac itself. After that, the Time Capsule will still automatically appear on Finder, even when you're out and about, as long as your Mac is connected to the internet. Other than that, there's nothing else to the Time Capsule storage-based features, and this means there's no media streaming options that allow for streaming digital content either stored on the Time Capsule's internal storage or on a connected external hard drive to other connected devices. In other words, if you put music, photos, or videos on the Time Capsule storage, they won't be available to network media streamers such as the Roku or the WD-TV or even the Apple TV itself. You can't use the Time Machine as a server for FTP or web functions either. The Time Capsule offered overall very fast performance in my testing, but it wasn't the fastest I've seen in all categories. This doesn't mean it wasn't impressive, however. Note that Wi-Fi range varies a great deal depending on the environment. The device also passed my 24-hour stress test, during which it didn't disconnect even once. As a NAS server, when connected to a computer via a wired gigabit connection, the Time Capsule offered 26 megabits per second and 29 megabits per second respectively for writing and reading. These are fast speeds, about the same as that of USB 2 external hard drives. However, they are almost exactly the same speeds offered by the previous generation of Time Capsule. Compared with single volume dedicated home NAS servers, the Time Capsule was still significantly slower. Nonetheless, its speed is fast enough for most data sharing and Time Machine backup needs. And if you use 802.11ac enabled Macs, note that Time Machine backup would then be about 3 times faster than with the previous Time Capsule. The new Apple Time Capsule comes with a well-designed ventilation system integrated on its base that worked very well. The device remained cool even during heavy load and emitted no noise. Overall, it performed very well in my testing and projects a sense of quality and reliability. Where it really shines is when used alongside an 802.11ac device. It's fair to say that the Apple Time Capsule isn't for everyone. Windows users and those looking for advanced networking features such as redundant backup, user-swappable internal hard drives, flexible admin tools and so on should look elsewhere. The same goes for those seeking a flexible streamer for local media files. But unlike nearly all the competition, the new Apple Time Capsule is attractive enough to be displayed openly rather than staying buried behind your desk. Mac users looking for real-world file backup paired with super fast 802.11ac Wi-Fi will find a lot to love here, especially if they value ease of use. Feel free to leave your thoughts and comments below. In the meantime, why not check out my channel for any related videos and click the logo above to subscribe and be informed of when my next video is released. See you next time on Ifty's Tech Corner.